So yeah, as Sarah said, I'm Paul. I'm going to talk to you tonight about what to do with a Lettera 22. A little bit cryptic, but you might get a clue from my title slide here. I'm going to be talking to you about a hobby that I've got into over the last couple of years, which is making art with a typewriter. So what is a Lettera 22? Well, it's a metal portable typewriter that was designed by Marcello Nizzoli for Olivetti around 70 years ago now. And it comes in a pretty leather carry case. It weighs about 3.7 kilos. So it's not light by modern laptop standards, but pretty good for a typewriter. It's got some really neat design features, such as the ability to stand on its back against the wall, freeing up desk space when you're not using it. And it was also available in a really wide range of cool colors. So it was kind of like the iMac of its day. There's even an example in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and it was awarded the Compasso d'Oro Italian Industrial Design Prize. Owners of it have included Leonard Cohen, Will Self, William Burroughs, and Tom Hanks. You might know him as a Hollywood actor, but he's also an author, and he even wrote a book of short stories called Uncommon Type, where all the stories have got a link with a typewriter. I can highly recommend it. It's really, really good read. Other owners included the German author Günter Grass, who actually had 3 of them, one for each of his 3 homes, which sort of defeats the purpose of having a portable, but never mind. And many journalists and reporters used them as their travel machines throughout the 60s and 70s. It said that the first reports of Kennedy's assassination were typed on a Lettera 22. So why do I have one? Well, I've always enjoyed collecting weird and wonderful pieces of industrial design, such as these egg grading poises and the mesoheliomatic cine camera in this top image here. And my friends Emily and Nick gave it to me 3 years ago as a birthday present because they thought I would appreciate a design classic typewriter, and they were right. So Lettera 22s were made from about 1953 to 1963 in several factories around the world. My particular example was made in Olivetti's UK factory in Glasgow. And you can tell it's from later in the production run because it's got squarer rather than round keys. Okay, so I've got this lovely typewriter. What do I do with it? It's kind of big to go on the shelf for my other collectibles. I could use it, but I'm not a writer and not even much of a typist. But one thing you might not know is that people have made art with typewriters for almost as long as there's been typewriters. This portrait of Tom Hanks, not by me, was made by a contemporary British artist, James Cook. He creates these amazing artworks by freehand layering and shading with a typewriter. And you can see more of his work at his website or on Instagram at James Cook Artwork. My artistic talents don't exactly run to this level. However, there is another way. ASCII art, where you take an image and convert it into sort of pixels, but using text instead. My dad used to print out pictures of Mickey Mouse on a printer at work when I was little. And here you see an example of Sarah's cat, Mr. Pork Pie, converted into text form with a close-up of his ear there on the right-hand side. So these were some of my first efforts using that text as kind of like a pattern. Created a giraffe card, an X-wing for my brother, and even some simple Christmas card for families and friends. But what else can you do? You are somewhat limited by only having 100 or so characters across the page. But I tried cars. I found that by turning the image around and typing the car end to end, you can generate a really good effect. And this Citroën DS was the first one I tried. It takes about 2 or 3 hours to create an image, but I find it really therapeutic, and it didn't take long before I wanted to try another one. So the next car I did a few months later was my own old car, a Corvette 1969 C3, long since sold, sadly. And I really enjoyed doing that too. But these are pretty big. They're nearly 2 feet long, and I can only get away with putting so many of them up on the wall in my own house. So I didn't do any more until early last year when I set up an Etsy shop. Etsy is an online marketplace for artists where they can sell their artworks. I wasn't doing this really to make money, just as an excuse or a reason to make more of the car pictures that I enjoyed doing. Although I did quite enjoy setting up the shop too and having an online presence. So I listed copies of the first 2 cars that I'd done because I could do those already, but then I started doing other cars that were some of my favorites. This is a Porsche 917 that raced in Can-Am racing in the early 70s before being banned for being too powerful and dangerous. My picture there is from the Classic Motor Show at the NEC last year. Another car I love is this Mazda 787B. This picture I took at the Le Mans Drivers Parade in 2011. It was the first Japanese car to win Le Mans in 1991, still the only rotary engine car to do so. It sounds just incredible, and I love its orange and green livery. A couple of years ago, I went to the Daytona 24-hour race with my brother, and some of my photos from that provided me with some more inspiration. At the top there's a modern Corvette C7 that raced in the event, and another classic Porsche that was on display. This one raced in Le Mans in 1978, reaching 228 miles an hour on the straights, but it was unreliable and only finished 8th. Not all the cars I did were race cars though. Here you can see a classic Fiat 500. And in a nice circularity there, in Italian they're called Topolino or Mickey Mouse, linking back to those pictures that my dad did for me when I was little. And below that, there's a classic 911, which is one of my favorite cars. So after 6 months or so, I created 10 new pictures, which was great. And something happened that was a really nice shock. In August, somebody actually bought something from my shop, and they were based in Paris. Another couple of sales followed later that year, one to Chicago and another to Colombia. I was just really happy that someone liked what I'd done and really excited to make a sale. So at the back end of last year, I set up my own website at LetteraArt.co.uk, and I started taking commissions too. So please do visit and take a look. Sales are suspended currently due to the difficulty of posting stuff out in the current situation, but I continue to make new pictures. So thank you all for listening. And I would encourage you all just to try doing something new and different and creative, especially while you're stuck at home. You don't need to be super artistic to have fun with it. Thank you.